what I'm doing now wasn't really an option out of college. I didn't plan ever to be on a TV show that I'd never heard of and selling on a platform called Instagram that I'd never heard of. These things were not even like created. Anyone out here who's listening to think that like you have to do this job that you're in or that, a dream job now, things can change. There's people making so much money off of NFTs, but who knew what an NFT was like 3 years ago?
Welcome to the Multiverse, where we believe that mushrooms can actually save the world, and that if humans mirrored the magic and wisdom of the fungi kingdom, we would have a far more joyous and connected planet. Each week, we'll be meeting with experts to learn about everything from functional mushrooms, psychedelic medicines, and so much more. Thanks for listening. Step into the multiverse with us. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Into the Multiverse. I am so excited. Actually, I was in the bathroom before this and thinking about how excited I was to walk back out and see you here on my couch.
Yes.
And before this episode, I've been, I've known a lot about you as a person just from our conversations, and I know a lot about your accomplishments, but it's wild when you look you up on the internet and you see how many crazy things you have done. You're such an accomplished person.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm lucky I get to spend so much time with you. So first of all, Travis Brewer, welcome to Into the Multiverse podcast.
Thank you so much, Alli. I really am super stoked to be here. And I'm also really proud of you, of what you are co-creating with Into the Multiverse and with Supermush. It's pretty impressive. I'm really honored to be here.
Well, you're part of the family. And for context, Travis and I just spent an absurd amount of time together down at South by.
The best.
We brought Travis and his partner, Leah, who is also an incredible, I don't even know what to describe. She's also a ninja, acrobatic savant.
Yeah,
and they came down to South by Southwest with us. We got a Supermush VW 1966 bus, and they were flipping around on top of the bus all week, and it was amazing. So we have some really fun content. So check out the Supermush Instagram. You'll see Travis on
Definitely
there.
check out the content, and I can't wait to see the final edit. We did some cool stuff.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Okay, so by way of introduction, which this is not conclusive, but I want to share with people for context who don't know you or haven't seen your stuff. Travis is a ninja. And I think when people grow up, they say, oh, I want to be a ninja. I want to be a kung fu artist. But Travis actually did it. He's actually a ninja. That is his profession. And his official bio is Travis is a fitness ninja and entrepreneur on a mission to spread positive energy through movement. His dedication has led him to become a finalist on American Ninja Warrior, which is what a lot of people know you from. You've been on a ton of shows, though, since then. You've been on Shark Tank. You've been on Battle of the Bars. You're also certified in, a few different things. Animal Flow, which I didn't even know was a thing. Acro Yoga Fitness. And you've been just partnered with so many amazing people. These are some of my favorite highlights from your website. I think this gives kind of a full picture of the range of what you do. So you went to Jamaica and you built a ninja-themed playground for community. You did a ninja-themed birthday party for Christina Aguilera's son. You've been a semi-finalist on American Ninja Warrior and a finalist many years. You were a master trainer to Tim Ferriss on the Tim Ferriss show. And then things that were not on this quick list, but that I know about because I've seen the content. You've been on America's Got Talent. You were recently on the Ellen Show. If you want to see the most epic video ever, Google just Positive Impact Movement Ellen Show.
Yep.
So first of all, congrats on all of that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And, my first question for you is how did this all come to be? We were just having a conversation before the episode started, but you didn't just become a ninja overnight. If you always wanted to do what you're doing, take us back to what's your story? Where are you from? How did this happen?
Yeah. Well, again, thank you so much for having me on the show. And I think this is a great place to start because it wasn't, I'd say, a super easy path or a straightforward path into becoming what I am and what I'm creating today. For context, I did start luckily, like my parents did put me in gymnastics when I was a kid. Basically, I was climbing on the roof at like, 2 years old, and they were like, okay, we should control this climbing ability. So they put me in gymnastics, and I enjoyed gymnastics, but I did that in elementary and middle school. But going into high school, like I wanted to do something a little bit more social. And with gymnastics, I was actually on a competitive team that was training and traveling. And, I wanted to do something kind of, you couldn't do anything else but gymnastics. That was kind of the path. And so in high school, I did football, soccer, lacrosse, track. Living in Texas, football is a big deal. So football was way cooler than doing gymnastics at that time. So I did a variety of sports, but I ended up going to the University of Arizona with a goal and dream to play soccer, and I blew my knee out. I tore my ACL, LCL, PCL, all the nerves in my knees, couldn't wiggle my toes. And the doctors were like, you'll never be able to play sports again. And so like my dreams of being a professional athlete were crushed. You? I was like 18, like going into like graduated high school, going into college. And so I was like, man, and I was like, which was tough. And so I spent a couple of years in college trying to rehab and get my knee back. It took like 3 years, but never wasn't being able to play professional sports again. So I went into the corporate world and, like wanted to do something creative in the corporate world, thinking what my best options were. I ended up doing commercial real estate, and with the dream of kind of just developing real estate properties. I worked for a company called Cushman Wakefield originally. We're like the largest private commercial real estate companies, and quickly realized that was not my ultimate path, but like we talked about, you can get these golden handcuffs, you can like get very comfortable very quickly. Like, the money can be really good, and there's a direct path for success, but I just wasn't fulfilled fully. Like, I had the friends and I had the job, and I had moved to California, which was a big dream of mine after living in Texas and going to school in Arizona. But I wanted to find more. And there's this thing called, like, you can Google, it's called like a Saturn return. It's kind of like, who am I and what is my purpose in life? Generally it's like from 28 to 30 for most people. And it totally hit me hard. Like I was like 29 and, had the great job, I was like, had all the friends, was doing a lot of social stuff, was helping like do social events in Hollywood. And I was like, but just wasn't feeling fulfilled. And right around that time, the 2008, 2009, like the market crashed, and the real estate market crashed, and I ended up losing my job. And it was actually one of the best things that ever happened to me. It's the worst thing at the time, but hindsight was the best thing ever, because I was like, man, like I had just my job and my security were gone, and what do I want to do? And I went with this self-exploration, and I went into a deep exploration of not only what I want to do professionally, but also like in life and my purpose. And so I read a book. This is right around when Steve Jobs died. So I read this book, and it kind of really changed my life, because he was so passionate about what he was creating. And, he had many different jobs and different, I'd say, bringing ideas to life. And he had this one book that he handed to everyone at his funeral, which was called Autobiography of a Yogi. And I read that book, and that changed my life as well. It started me on a meditation practice of just kind of like thinking within as opposed to externally, like what I want to create, but also like where does my message come from? Mm-hmm. And so the Self-Realization Fellowship and Autobiography Yogi really led me to a meditation and internal practice of not only calmness, but also like a mantra of like what I want to create with my life. And I wanted to make a positive impact through movement is what I decided over a couple of years. And so I went back to school and I got my MBA at Pepperdine. And at that time I was like, I want to create a movement apparel company that would give back to helping build parks and playgrounds. And so I created that business thinking, oh, it'll be super easy. It'll make enough money for me to live and help my friends out and that kind of stuff. And it became much more of a longer journey than I ever expected, but great learning experience. But that got me onto a path of literally moving every day and trying out my fitness products, specifically the clothes. And in doing that, I was training down at Muscle Beach in Santa Monica. And so I started going to the Muscle Beach like 11 years ago. And And that place changed my life. Literally, it's this adult playground. It was the pinnacle and birthplace of outdoor fitness, where a lot of circus performers and a lot of bodybuilders all became famous training at Santa Monica or Venice, Muscle Beach, and like Arnold Schwarzenegger and all these other people.
I've been with you. It's fascinating.
Yeah,
it's so much fun. But every Sunday you go and it's just like all these incredible athletes all flipping around standing on people's heads. It's wild.
It's pretty crazy. And so what's crazy is that they were doing this in the 1930s and 40s, it was like before I was ever born. And to be able to I'm just trying to replicate what people were doing back in that day and paying homage to Muscle Beach. And so I started going there, but it was cool. It's like all these people that are just like, making movement their life and their lifestyle. And so I started going down to the beach. And at that time, I met like two guys that really kind of were like, life-changing in that moment. There was a guy named Frank Madrano and another guy named Warren Lee, who's Prove It on Instagram. And they were really into calisthenics, like body weight training, like they were doing muscle ups and they're doing handstands on the bars and front levers and back levers. And I'm like, whoa, this is cool. And so I joined their calisthenic crew and they're like, hey, we're training these fit expos and we're doing these performances. And I'm like, what? This is this whole other world that I had no clue about. And which spun into these fitness competitions, and what we talked about, the Battle of the Bars, ended up evolving. And it's kind of like almost like they have these like calisthenic competitions, almost kind of like break dance meets workout like competitions. And so I ended up being in one of the very first, like kind of like when UFC got started, one of the first rounds of these like competitions. And I'm grateful to have won one of the first Battle of the Bars and made me like a world champion in this league. And I'm like, whoa, never expected this. Literally, just like I thought my career was over when I graduated college. And now, 5-6 years later, I'm into fitness again. And I'm like, and so I was like, all right, by the time I turn 30, I want to make this my goal, And so I started my fitness career at 30, which is pretty crazy. I ended up becoming this Battle of the Bars champion. And then I started training in parkour. This Tempest gym opened up. And when I was there, there's another guy named Justin McGrath, who was this second furthest American Ninja Warrior at the time. And he was like, hey, you should try out for this show, American Ninja Warrior. And I'm like, what? What's that? And
so you hadn't even heard of it?
Hadn't heard of the show. And we're like, we're filming in Venice. It's this obstacle course. You'd be great at it, And I was doing all this bodyweight training. And I'm like, cool, I'll try it. And I'm so grateful that they ended up able to like get me on the show just as a walk-on, like no guarantee you'll ever be on the show. And I just kind of got lucky. Seriously, like I was there, I was on set. There's like, 100 people on the walk-on list. So I'm like, I'll never get on. But a obstacle had malfunctioned and they didn't get to finish filming the day before. So they needed to run the next day. And so they basically needed to put a couple of the walk-ons on to make sure the like obstacle was run before they finished, because they needed the light to be done before they did the next filming. And so there's like a little bit extra time. And so I was like, literally they basically like, people run, you won't be able to make it on the course. And I ran the course and I was able to like make it like almost complete the course basically. And they're like, oh wow. And so I made it to like the next round and they're like, wow. And so that's what got me so I made it to the semifinals that year. And they're like, wow, like you're this new kid. He's got some ninja skills. And so I got invited back and got into the ninja community, and that completely changed my life. It inspired me to transition the clothing line to making a ninja pant. Being a movement brand, we made the ninja pant, which is kind of like our flagship product now, and
which I'm
wearing right now, and have been able to get that on a lot of the top ninjas all over the world and co-create with a lot of like that community, and it kind of set forth. But to summarize the point, what I'm doing now, wasn't really an option out of college. It's like I didn't plan ever to be on a TV show that I'd never heard of and selling on a platform called Instagram that I'd never heard of. It's like these things were not even like created, so it's like anyone out here who's listening, like to think that like you have to do this job that you're in or that, a dream job now, things can change. There's people making so much money off of NFTs, but who knew what an NFT was like 3 years ago, or crypto or any of these things. There's always going to be another wave of something that's available. So like keep sharpening your skills, keep believing in yourself. Like I think that me listening to a path of what I wanted to create, no matter what was evolving, has really led me to have my North Star to continue to do what I do every day. And like, Same thing, like America's Got Talent. I didn't even know what that show was, let alone now getting to perform on it and like perform in the live rounds. Like we were like just talking about the Oscars that was just happened. We got to perform where they're doing the Oscars, and like never thought that would happen. But as long as I'm staying true to like wanting to make a positive impact and being truthful to like, I'd call it my spirit or the positive energy, it'll lead you to where, hopefully you're supposed to be impacting people at that time.
And it's first of all, it's such an amazing story.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you got that clarity from going internal.
Totally.
Like I think the most important thing sounds like you did was just like go inward, like focus on, meditating on what you really wanted to create.
Mm-hmm.
And I can attest to, because you said the word gratitude and grateful so many times. And you're one of the most embodied people I know in gratitude, because you have this extraordinary life that you live, and it's like arguably like the most fun life ever, but you're so grateful, and you have this thing that you do, which I love. I'd love you to share a little bit about this, and I do want to put a pin on this career thing, because I want to talk about the bird's nest. We'll just planting that seed for a second. Right. We'll really explain it, but can you explain this thing around 314 and your gratitude practice and how it's impacted you?
Totally. I think the essence or energy of gratitude is something that like anyone and everybody should embody or just start a practice in. And that's something that I wanted to take seriously. And I started journaling and meditating, but the art of gratitude was something that I wanted to really set and create time for. So literally what I've done is I've created a gratitude alarm. I have a daily reoccurring alarm that you can put on your phone. And I've chose a time that's important to me, but you can choose 11:11 or whatever its number is important for you. But I chose pi, which is 3.14. So I do 3:14 p.m. and I have a gratitude alarm that goes off every time at that time. And it's really beautiful because I feel like it reminds you that no matter how good or bad life can be, I could be like literally recording a podcast with you, which is like my highest excitement, or I could be like stuck in traffic, or, like I could miss a plane flight or something like that. But there's something to always like be grateful for, the fact that we are just being able to be here right now, that we are alive and we're breathing on this planet is something to be grateful for, Mm-hmm. And so we get to create something every day and we are alive, and like, health is wealth and something that we can work on and share. And I think what's so special about what you're creating with, mushrooms really can change us as humans, and the planet is so beautiful. And so like, I'm just so grateful to have that practice. And I encourage anyone to just pick a time that's great for them, and to be grateful, and just see if it impacts your life or not, So, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know it was for pi.
Yeah.
So something like really random and nerdy about me that I feel compelled to share right now is when I was in like 4th grade or something.
Yeah.
We had a competition to see who could memorize the most digits of pi.
Uh-huh.
And I was so into it. Like I think I memorized like 150 digits of pi, like something ridiculous.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I won the competition, and like no one else even like entered, but like I still like really like studied for it. Anyways, I didn't know we were connected on the pi front. I'll see if I can remember
Congrats.
it all. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of my finest accomplishments.
That's amazing.
So, okay, I do want to go back to something we were talking about before we started recording, because I think it is so fascinating, the story that you shared. So I'm just going to re-ask you the question, but I asked you, who or what is someone that you've met that has drastically changed the course of your life, and if you can kind of pinpoint that. And it took you a second to get to like, this exact story, but I think it has so many lessons in the story. So like, can you just rewind that and reshare it?
Yeah, totally. So like 10 or 11 years ago, like it was a very impactful time in my life. Same thing with the Saturn return and changing my job and career. I met a group called Summit Series, which was doing amazing stuff where they're literally like bringing creatives, artists, entrepreneurs together for these events, and you meet the most interesting people. So I met Summit Series. I also went to Burning Man for the first time, and seeing these creative people like just doing such amazing things that in the world, that was so inspiring. And I got invited to Summit, and they were at the time they had just relocated to Utah, and they're in this like little town in Utah, and they're inviting people out to go skiing. And so I go out there, and there's amazing people, like Tim Ferriss is there, and the founder of Zappos, and the guy who started Tom Shoes Blake, and then I'm getting to meet all these interesting people. But there's this one guy who really impressed me, and his name is Hannes. And Hannes, I was like, "What do you do, Hannes?" And he's like, "Oh, I help guide people in the woods, and I build human-sized birds' nests." And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "You don't hear that every day." And he's like, no offense, I've heard of the other guys in their companies. They're amazing. But I was like, wow, I'd never heard about this. And I was like, I want to learn more. And he's like, yeah, I build these human-sized birds' nests. You can fit like 5 or 6 people in them. And I make them by hand, and, no screws or anything. And I'm like, oh. And he shows me a photo of the thing, and it's like, 40, 50 feet up in a tree. And I'm like, I want to help you out. And he's like, it's kind of dangerous. Like, when the product's done, you can come see it, experience. I'll have a ladder to get up there. And I'm like, I don't think you understand. I'm a ninja. And I showed him some of my photos, and he's like, oh, okay, yeah, you could probably help me out. And so I became this guy's like Sherpa, and like helping him like transport these like sticks and wood up into this tree. And I helped him build this bird's nest. And so I helped him all weekend while everyone else is kind of socializing, meeting these incredible, amazing people.
You're
I was
in a
like,
tree.
I'm literally in a tree, like having the time of my life, And I'm like, and as the weekend's over, everyone's leaving, and I'm just so bummed. And everyone's like, well, why are you so sad? And I'm like, because I really don't want to leave, but everyone's leaving, like you're not going to get to meet all the cool people. And I'm like, I don't really care. I really want to finish building this bird's nest. And they're like, dude, you can stay. Like Jeff and Elliot, some of the co-founders were like, amazing. Yeah, you can stay. And I'm like, no way. And so I stayed, finished that week, and I got to like really become friends with the Summit community, and obviously like best buds with my friend Hannes. And Hannes Wingate is his name. You can check out his art. It's really incredible. He's built some really incredible pieces. There's like one you can visit in a park in Portland, and he has some other cool pieces on some private land. But that just kind of changed my life. Like, it was so interesting. It's like something that just like you can be an artist doing almost anything. Like literally, like it's so, I've met a lot of obviously movement artists and dancers and musicians and fitness people, but like you don't get to meet like make a living making bird's nests every day, And so like, I just think the oddity of that really inspired me to like, oh, I can be a ninja, or I can be, an entrepreneur in X, Y, or Z, And so it's like, I don't know. It's just like, I can't explain why, but it just had a profound impact in my life. Yeah.
It's such a good story. Also, 2 thoughts that came up for me is one, the supply side of the bird's nest, like fine, but from the demand perspective, like who's ordering these bird's nests? And like, you know what I need right now is a giant 5-person bird's nest in my tree. So I have to like look that up and see like,
I'll definitely send you a photo we can attach to this. Yeah.
Right. Like I feel like, the guy that's building the bird's nest, like that's fascinating. Like he's fascinating for sure, but like the person ordering the bird's nest that needs it, like there's gotta be some more. There's gotta be some more to unpack there. I actually also realized that the first moment I met you, it came to me while you were sharing the story about Summit. I met you in Utah. Yeah. And I didn't speak to you before I saw you from afar. And you were literally in the air. When I saw you, it's like the most on-brand meeting ever. You were flipping off of some cliff in the air. And I just saw this human in a ball that was it was dusk, and you could kind of see the moon in the background. And you remember this? You were flipping off of this,
we were
this
creating
hill.
This eclipse photo of the sun. Yeah.
Just, casual. Yeah. So anyways, that came to me very on brand. And I was like, who is this? And then I, learned more about you, and the rest is history.
When we were doing the photos with the flowers too, or was that it?
That might have been, I've seen that photo. It's amazing on your website. So people check that out. There's several different avenues we could go with this, but I do want to talk about your perspective on mental and physical health. And we actually recently had on my friend Devin Levake, who's amazing. You guys need to meet. I'm reminding myself right now, you guys must meet.
Can't wait to meet Devin.
I'll send him this part of the podcast because he would love you and be fascinated with what you're doing. He's an incredible athlete, and he speaks so much about mental health and how physical health is, in movement is vital to his mental health. How do you find that relationship in your life? Because you are, you have a company called Positive Impact Movement, but it really is about positivity. So how does that kind of take shape for you in your life?
I like to use the message that movement is medicine, and I think movement can help cure a lot of the issues that we have. I think diet and what we eat, specifically like mushrooms and other things, can also significantly help. But how we move within our body and how we can connect with our mind and body is how we can connect to our spirit. I think we are, a triad. We're a mind, body, and spirit being. And so I think we put a lot of emphasis on our health within our movement practice. But I think there is obviously, I think, a direct correlation to our mental health as well. And I think focusing on our mental health and focusing on our physical health not only connects us to our spirit, but also the way that we can connect within our spirit and our body connects us back to our mind. So there's like many different avenues to get to it. But what I would say further is that a positive mindset is an important part, but realizing that no one has a perfect life. Like my life isn't perfect. I have I've had good days and bad days, and learning to overcome the struggles of life and learning to overcome when we have dark times, like when we lose our job, like, is my life over, or is this the beginning of a new life? Which was the case. But for a year or two, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was like, I was burning through all my savings, and I was like scared of what was going to be next, and, I've had, different issues with the company. It's like I had to shut it down and start it up again. It's not like an easy path, it's like, but I think Ninja Warrior is a great lifestyle analogy because it's the world's hardest obstacle course. I've never actually beaten the course. I've never like made it all the way, but I still have the time in my life. I've fallen on obstacles earlier than expected, or I've made it further than expected. But it's like that focus on life is just like going all in on something. And if you fail, get up again and learn from it. And I think that that's an important message to learn. I think a lot of people, and including myself, get afraid to fail, right? But as you get more comfortable with failure, then you can get more comfortable with becoming stronger. And so I think that is a great avenue within our mental health and our physical health, that like actually take the mindset of like fail faster and learn more, because it's like oftentimes like, Ninja Warrior teaches you to be perfect, and then like, no one ever actually, makes it. And so like that was like a great mindset. I was like, I have to be perfect. And then it's not to happen. How do I adjust? How do I adapt? And so I would say like just continue that mindset. And I think we touched on this earlier. A great resource for that is gratitude. Like live with gratitude. Live with the fact of like, why am I going through this pain or this experience? Or a good time in this moment, and what can I learn from it? A great way to do that is journaling. Journal like maybe the good and bad of your day and how you want to attract more of. I think a great way to also is mantras. Like I love the art of mantras, like with the power of manifestation. Like these are the things that I want to attract in my life, and just realize that time is like, there's an odd sense of time and perspective. A lot of people talk about time doesn't really exist, or exists in a format not linear that we understand. And I totally agree in the sense that like, if something is set in motion, it might not happen tomorrow or the next day, but the more that we put energy into it, the more that we bring awareness to it. So it's like, if there's something I want to manifest, I write it down, but then I also speak about it. I might visualize it, maybe make a mood board around it. The more energy that we can attract and put into it, the more that energy is around it. And so like even build a company around it, build energy around it. Like at the end of the day, I feel that we're all energy. And so how we can shift and think of like our mind and our bodies as energy, and how we can translate and strengthen that is the strategy that I like to live by.
And once you start to experience it, once you've had, synchronicity occur, or you've put something on a vision board and it comes true, then you're like, oh shit, this really works.
Totally.
No, that's beautiful. And also, I think a great segue into mushrooms.
Yeah.
You're also a really spiritual person. And early on when I was sharing what we were creating with, Into the Multiverse, with Supermush, with our marketplace, you were like, yeah, I love mushrooms.
Yeah.
Like, I remember, you just saying, I love mushrooms, and mushrooms of all types. And I think that you're also unique in that you use functional mushrooms, non-psychedelic mushrooms, and you're also a huge believer in psychoactive. So I want to kind of break these down and talk about both. Functional mushrooms specifically, how have those made their way into your life? Like, when did you first hear about them? How do you use them in your life?
Yeah.
And what does that look like?
Yeah, totally. Mushroom products have been an important part of my life for, I don't know, at least 5-6 years now. Getting to meet originally Taro with Four Sigmatic. He was another person who really changed my life. I met him, at least 6 years ago, and just continue to see him evolve with his mushroom products and starting to take that and just noticing how I feel after taking functional mushrooms. And as a functional movement artist, like, my joy is to be as functional as possible. And like, I'm pretty sensitive to the food that I eat, and I often test what I like and don't like, and just noticing that, like, how healthy and happy I feel introducing mushrooms and making it an important part of my diet. So I was super excited when you came out with your product, because it's like, not only like, it's the downside of like mushrooms is like, you having to eat them or like, like drink them. You can't always do it, but a spray, like, game changer, like,
here.
Yeah.
Do you want an energy spray?
Of course. It's the best.
Maybe you'll get the sound for people that are just listening.
This stuff is the best. I mean, like, oh, I love the taste. But
and
like,
they taste good too.
It tastes great. Yeah. But for example, like, I don't drink coffee. Never really have. But having sustainable energy is an important, not only for life, but also in certain areas. Like, for example, like, I'm on a road trip and I'm getting tired, like, I don't want to drink a Red Bull, or I don't really want to drink like coffee, but like an energy spray, like, it actually works. And I'm just like, this is cool. And it's like great for you. And it's like, I just rewatched one of the mushroom documentaries. What's the one that's on Netflix?
Fantastic Fungi.
Yeah, I just watched it literally like 2 nights ago. And just like rewatching that again, it's just like, oh, it just makes me so happy that like you guys should definitely watch it if you haven't seen it. Like, just how connected our universe is, like, and through that network, and just how like we're still uncovering different types of mushrooms and what the effects are in humans. And like, it's just such an amazing, it's like, they were saying, it's like beyond a food, it's like this, like, it's like so powerful. And so I'm a huge believer in it. And from the recovery, like, a big part of my life is recovering as fast as possible so I can continue to do what I do. And I attribute mushrooms to that.
And cordyceps for athletic performance is incredible. Yeah. So, and a lot of people that don't drink caffeine, they're looking for alternatives to coffee, and things to give you that, that boost. It's like this calm, really nice, focused energy, and cordyceps increases the production of ATP in your body, so you're not getting that boost and then that crash that coffee gives you. And it's a game changer. And you feel them. Like, when you take functional mushrooms, especially at a high dose, you really, you feel them. And actually, a lot of people that microdose psilocybin mushrooms, oftentimes, it's in combination with lion's mane and cordyceps. Oftentimes they're feeling the lion's mane. So when you think you're, you're feeling the psilocybin, like your brain feels like it lights up when you have a high dose of lion's mane. And, you're also a supporter of psilocybin mushrooms as well. And I'd love to talk about that. And, specifically for everything that you're doing, like, how have not only psychedelics made an impact in your spiritual world, but also in your, in your movement and like everything that you're doing. I think that it's really, really important for people who are at the top of their field, whether it's incredible athletes like you and, Devin, who I mentioned before, talks about this a lot as well. Like, he's at the top of his game. The guy bear crawled a marathon, and he attributes a lot of his energy and success to psilocybin and mushrooms overall. So how does that look for you?
Yeah, I was so amazed after, getting connected through different organizations and summit and that kind of stuff. You meet a lot of interesting top performers in different fields, from entrepreneurs to artists and athletes. And I was noticing that so many people are like experimenting and learning from like functional mushrooms, but also psychedelic mushrooms, and like attributing a lot of their creativity to that. And I can say the exact same thing. Like it's so cool that I feel like the conversation and the microdosing collective and starting the conversation around how microdosing can really not only change, in a couple different avenues, but I think it's super important for me within the creative aspect, like thinking about what my next routine would be, or my next move, or my next video. Like I attribute a lot of that. Also my connection to source. Like I feel that I'm able to just drop in, making a meditation that much deeper, make a ceremonial, like just being able to add on to that. And then also from a recovery standpoint, like being able to just like loosen up my body. It's crazy. Like when I take a psychedelic mushroom, I'm able to like be more connected, feel more into my body, like where maybe a soreness is, where maybe I need to stretch more, maybe where I can actually even incorporate some self-healing into that. Like otherwise that I'm just so like focused on the next appointment or the next thing, or like, turning off the pain in the brain because I need to do something. Now this gets me so much more embodied, and I'm like, oh, this is what I need to work on. It's like, it's so beautiful. It brings this total new awareness to me. And from a microdosing standpoint, like I think there's, you can have a hero's journey, you can go all out and have like, a crazy experience, from a party standpoint or a ceremonial standpoint. But the microdose, like, I took diagnosed with ADD and ADHD as a kid, and took like Adderall and Ritalin and all that kind of stuff, and I hated it. But being able to now use functional mushrooms and psychedelic mushrooms and a microdosing standpoint to actually like get more into this like calm zen, I'm able to actually be way more productive. In my feedback is at least that I'm able to be more focused in line with what I want and need to do. So I find it like super helpful in like multiple different avenues.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so what does that actually look like logistically on, how often, let's just say, current life.
Yeah.
How often are you microdosing? How often do you incorporate larger doses of psilocybin into, your world, whether it's from, ceremonial or recreationally?
Yeah. The microdose, I would say, once or twice a week, depending on like what's going on. And then ceremonially, that also just kind of comes with the environment or with the experience, so it kind of depends on what's going on. And, if there's a big performance, or there's a big or maybe it's just a gathering or something like that, or a camping trip or that kind of stuff. I'd say set and setting is super important for me. Like I for me, doing it as like recreational as a party is not as enjoyable for me. Like it is something I do, but I really enjoy ceremonially, like being able to just turn off a phone and like dive in within my body or with my mind, or watch, like maybe even watch a documentary or something like that, but just being able to release and relax. I find it a great way to connect with my partner as well. And so those are the ways I like to take it. Yeah.
And how did it first, I guess, come into your world? Was it through observation of people that were, whether it was Summit or any of these, events that you were going to? Was it watching people that were at the top of their game and they were incorporating psychedelics into their life? Or how did this like first, even, I grew up with the DARE program, so it was like a massive unlearning to land me where I am now with my perspective. What was your journey with it?
Another person who like completely changed my life was Tim Ferriss. And I met Tim Ferriss at Summit one time, and it was so interesting because I was like, everyone was like fanboy to meet Tim, and like I was like, man, I don't want to wait in line to meet this guy. Like
I want to build a bird's nest.
I want to build a bird's nest, and it was so cool because we're at dinner one time, and like he came up and said hi to me, like knowing who I was, which was that blew my mind in itself. And it was really cool because he had just written the 4-Hour Body and was writing the 4-Hour Chef. And so he's really into movement. And so he wanted to pick my brain on some movement stuff. And so it was really cool. I went to one of his talks and he like found me afterwards. I was like, no way, this is crazy. And we ended up, I found out later he was creating a new show called the Tim Ferriss Experiment, where he does these finds these masters in different disciplines, like Laird Hamilton for surfing, or guitar, or different stuff, or race car driving, and he chose me and another amazing human for movement, and I was like, no way, this is so mind blowing. But in learning him and his story and his shortcuts to life and masterminding, and he was a big proponent, and it is a big proponent of psychedelics and psychedelic research. And so seeing him being at the top of his game and doing all these incredible things, and then hearing his podcast, I was like, whoa, this is he's not like this, in Dare, this, I went through the whole Dare program as well. He's not this junkie who's living under a bridge, who doesn't have his life together. It's the complete opposite. He's like something I want to be when I grow up. And so I was like, oh wow, this is changing the whole narrative of what I was taught in school. If you do drugs, you're gonna be homeless and out of your mind, and Tim's, the opposite, he's like a world game changer, so.
He was also, I loved Tim Ferriss. I've listened to, it's my favorite podcast. I've listened to so many of his podcasts. And when he first started talking about and funding the psychedelic space, that was a huge, turning point of me really starting to just be a student of the space. And, this was far before it was a part of what I'm doing with our work. But yeah, he's amazing. And also one of the most prominent angel investors in the psychedelic space, and has given so much money to, different clinical trials. He's amazing. I love that. Okay, so I have a few more kind of rapid fire, quicker questions for you. It's okay if they're a little bit longer, but you've shared with me, kind of what the vision is for what you're building. And, there's a little I don't know if you're public about this yet, or if you want to share a little bit about it, but what is the future vision of everything you want to build with the circus and all these different things, if everything that you want comes true and the next, 5 years, what's the impact?
Yeah.
It's not a rapid fire question at all, but.
My long-term dream is, with Team Positive Impact Movement, we've been able to do these amazing opportunities and perform all over the world. And I want to be able to share that gift. And I want to be able to create, let's call it a conscious circus, where it's a circus experience that you don't just watch, but maybe you can even participate in. Maybe it's a high-end dinner where we actually have, mushroom, products or elixirs afterwards, and then you can watch a show. But maybe it's a jam where you could come and learn something, at least come play afterwards, or maybe we can even or it's the day before or the day after, there's a class that you could take, learning the beginning of it, or just an ecstatic dance where we're just kind of moving and doing breath work and that kind of stuff, but just getting people more embodied and more literally more functional, and having fun with functional food and functional movement.
I love that. Well, whenever you create that, Supermesh is 100% a sponsor of it.
Thank you.
For literally the end of time. I love it. I think it's such a cool vision. And this is more on a day-to-day basis. I like to think about this, what I measure my success on. I think a lot of people, when you say what does success mean to you? It's these future metrics, but on a day, on a day-to-day basis, if you're yes, today was successful, what does that look like?
Oh, that's a great question. Man, a successful day is, I think whenever you can find an opportunity where you can create, and create can look like a lot of different things, but you can create something that you're proud of, or I think a really great way, something to share. So being able to give is a great way to receive. So what giving can look at many different things. I personally give myself a 30-day challenge of being able to give every day. So giving could be as simple as just I'm giving some content away for free on social media, or I could be giving $1 to someone on the street, or I could be giving a hug, or but whatever your measure of success is, or like I could be giving like, hey, this is like a meditation that I like to share, and sharing it to someone, so like I think giving something away every day is to connect with someone, I think is like a success. Also a success is being able to like just move the body, and so like it could be as simple as if, hey, you're at your desk, like, hey, carve away 3 minutes to stretch, or like or schedule a class or something like that. But any day that I get to move and I get to give, I call those a success. Yeah.
I love it. And, today successful already, because from the giving standpoint, you brought me my favorite smoothie of all time.
Yeah.
Which is also just reflective of like, you are one of the most generous people. You're so kind. And I'm just so grateful that we've gotten to become so close.
Thank you.
And then you're always in your Supermush hoodie. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. You're always rocking it. You're a walking billboard. Yeah. Okay.
Like one last point. Like, to make a super easy like success, write something down write down or say something you're grateful for every day, and that's a success. It could be as simple as that. Just set an alarm, or write it, or say before you go to bed, or write it and have an alarm throughout the day. But just one practice of gratitude every day is a successful day. Yeah.
And the ripple effect that creates, that you have even created in my life. And I see, you're all over Instagram, and I see, you FaceTime people at 3:14 and you say, I'm grateful for you. And it's amazing, because you really, like, that domino effect, you send it through phones, and it changes someone's state.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So definitely I'm going to do the gratitude alarm. This is confirming it for me. What do you hope that people say about you at your funeral?
Ooh.
It'll be probably lots and lots of speeches. So you don't have to give the extensive, like all the speeches, but like some high level points.
Oh man.
Travis was maybe on a tombstone. Maybe that's better.
I don't know. He died doing what he loved. Yeah.
Which is very fitting. I hope that's kind of like a morbid thing, because you really do like flip off of billboards and buildings and things like that. But that's beautiful.
Yeah. Honestly, like taking it a step further, like I'm probably more excited to like leave a legacy of something. Like I've like we talked about, I got to build a park in Jamaica, and I want to continue to build more parks. And so I want to like leave a legacy of like either products or things that people can find movement, joy, and hopefully connection to consciousness through it. So yeah,
you're on the path. 2 last questions for you is, what, as to bring it full circle, since this is a mushroom podcast, what is the single most important lesson that mushrooms of any type have taught you?
One great mushroom story was I went to Finland with Taro and Four Sigmatic, and we were chopping down mushrooms like in the forest, and understanding that like mushrooms can grow like literally in like freezing temperatures, that they can like they have and that they're like this like special thing that's like beyond a plant. It's like they don't need like just this certain sunlight, or this different environment. They can adapt to what
they're so resilient.
They're so resilient. And so like understanding that they're so magical, literally, like all different kinds. I think that was just like so eye-opening, that like these things are like so powerful, and we're still learning about them. Yeah.
I love that. Okay. What is next for you? Next 6 months, thing you're most excited about, and where can people find you?
Oh yeah. I'm performing a halftime of an NBA Spurs game on April 9th. So I'm pretty excited about that.
With the whole squad?
Yeah, with the whole squad.
Okay.
Our team name is Positive Impact Movement. Shout out to Andreas, James, Nathan. These guys are like brothers for life. They're super incredible. Please follow all of them individually as well. And yeah, our mission is to make a positive impact through movement, and that'll be a really great venue to do next. And Positive Impact Movement on social media, travisbrewer.ninja is my website or social media as well, and you can find out the team. And yeah, we're going to continue to keep pushing it. So we hope to see you soon. I'll be touring with the Wolfpack Ninja Tour. It's like a ninja tour that's going around this summer.
Sentences you never thought you'd say.
Yeah, I know, crazy. Never thought I'd be saying I'm part of a ninja tour, but we'll be performing halftime of that. And if you're into ninja sports, you always want to try a ninja obstacle course. We're coming to hopefully a city near you, so check it out. Wolfpack Ninjas. Yeah.
Well, Travis, you're amazing. I genuinely love you so much. I have so much love for you. I can't wait to continue to dive into like all the ridiculousness and have you dress up like a mushroom character and continue to like do all the ridiculous things we've been doing.
Yeah.
And just to support you on your journey. You have like such a very clear and, positive, no pun intended, mission in the world. So
thank you.
So much love. Thank you for coming on. Thanks for diving into the multiverse with us. If you're interested in being a future guest on the show, sponsorship, partnership, or you're just mushroom curious, we're always looking to expand our mycelium network. Find us on Instagram at Multiverse or online at yourmultiverse.com. See you next week.